In today's video, we're going to talk about the G plan. Why by far is the most popular for new enrollment. Easily 90-95% of new people pick the G plan. We're going to look at what it is, how to compare it with the N and F plan, and also how to quote and switch if you need to. Let's get right into it. First, what is a G plan? It's a Medicare Supplement or Medigap plans, two different names for the same thing. This is the most flexible of options for Medicare as opposed to Advantage plans. You can pick and choose Medicare providers anywhere in the United States. You refer yourself out. There's much more flexibility. You're not locked into an area. So it works like a PPO, and a lot of people gravitate towards this for that reason. The G plan is one of many Medicare Supplement plans, but almost 95% of new enrollment is with the G plan. Here's the core pieces we want to look at. There's lots of little parts of what Medicare Supplements cover, but the real bulk of it is this. The G plan will cover the Part A or hospital deductible, which is a big one. It will cover the 20% coinsurance you pick up after deductibles for either hospital, Part A, or for doctor, lab, outpatient, which is Part B. That 20% as we've talked about, is really the key reason to have a Medicare supplement because there's no cap. It can go on indefinitely. So that's the bulk of what really you're buying with a Medicare supplement, and specifically the G plan, is that you got Part A, you have your 20%. It does not cover your Part B or doctor deductible. So that's around $257 right now, $257 in 2025. The G plan will not cover that. You will pay that deductible first, and then it will pick up the 20% after that. It also covers excess, which means if a doctor charges more than what Medicare allows, it'll pick that up. That's one big difference between it and, say, the N plan. But that's the core for G. Let's now compare that directly with the F plan, then the N plan, and we'll talk a little bit more about a secret if you're new to Medicare. First, let's talk about the F plan versus the G plan. And this drives us a little crazy because there are millions of people still on the old F plan, and even millions of Californians. It makes up like roughly a third of the Medicare supplement market in California. And here's why it drives us crazy. The F and the G are almost identical except for one thing, the Part B or doctor deductible. It's around $257 right now in 2025. It goes up a little bit every year with inflation, but that's the only difference between the F and G. Otherwise, they're identical. Same network, same core benefits, everything's the same except for that one thing, which is about $257 right now. Here's the issue. When we run numbers for people that are on F plans, the F plan is usually on average about $750 more per year than the G plan, which means even in a bad year where you have lots of doctor visits and labs and outpatient surgery even, you're paying about $500 more just giving it away to the carrier if you're on the F plan. So now there are some people who are on really old F plans where the pricing's okay, but for most people, 80-90%, when we run numbers for them, they're paying about $750 more, and it goes up as you get older versus that G plan. So we really want to check all the numbers on that to make sure you're not overpaying, because the only difference is that $257. If you're paying $750 more per year, that's about $500 you're just giving to the carrier. And there are millions of people doing this every year. Around the birthday, you can make a change from the F to the G regardless of health. Doesn't matter your health. With the birthday rule in California, we can make that change easily and without any medical underwriting. All right, now let's look at the G versus N plan, the other big competition on the market. Hold up, before we get into N versus G, which is really the big debate, please like and subscribe. It allows us to continue to bring you unbiased information, which hopefully makes this confusing world a lot easier. Let's get back to the video. All right, here's the title fight right now for Medicare supplements in California, the N versus the G plan. For new enrollees, these are by far the two most popular options. Most people start with a G. We'll explain why in the next section. And then they start to look at an N plan as they get older. So how do we compare these two? We have a whole video on this, but here's a snapshot. The N plan will have copays for office visits and emergency rooms even after you've met your Part B deductible. So it's kind of like the G plan in that you first have to pay that Part B deductible, the $257, and then you start paying copays. $20 copays for physician or doctor visits, $50 for ER visits. That's it. So how do we analyze these two? Well, look at how many office visits you have in an average year. If we're going to save maybe $20, $30, $40 a month on the N plan versus the G, well, that's $200, $300 a year. How many office visits can we afford for that $200 to $300? You'll find that break even might be around 7 to 10 office visits. So if you have a lot of office visits, 20 plus, maybe the G makes more sense. But if you have under generally, that N might save you money. That's really the comparison we're looking at. The only other piece is excess. The N plan does not cover excess, the G plan does. How do we analyze this? It's really tricky because there aren't really good stats for how many doctors charge excess up to 15% above what Medicare allows. It's probably 1% to 2%. In California, it might be double that because it's so expensive here. So that kind of comes into play, but practically we don't hear about it from our clients being an issue. So we can kind of put that a little bit to the side and really focus on the office visits. Finally, let's talk about why most people start with a G plan and then maybe get stuck there. All right, we're going to give you a little bit of insider secret so you can use that information in your interest. There are discounts on the G plan only if you're new to Medicare, meaning you just got your Part B enacted. And those discounts are $25 per month for the first 12 months. And so when people run quotes when they're new to Medicare, let's say they're turning 65, coming off of employer coverage, they'll get these quotes, they'll see that $25 discount, and that G plan is much cheaper or is cheaper than the N, even though it's richer. Slam dunk. Everyone jumps on the G plan. And there are four main carriers that now offer this discount, and we expect probably more to come out. This skews everything because one thing is you go in thinking, oh, the G is the best value. It's also the richest plan. I'll just stay on it. And people never look back. Once that 12 months is passed, that $25 jumps off, then all of a sudden we really need to reshop the market. But people don't. They don't because they love the way Medicare supplements work. They're so used to the practicality, the flexibility. I can go see all my doctors. I refer myself out. They're like, I don't want to change. I love this plan. But the thing is, they love the Medicare supplement piece. They really need to reshop the market for G versus N at age 67, 68 going forward because the savings will start to creep up. And they never look back. They never reshop. Also, with the birthday rule, you're able to change carriers for that same plan. You can go from a G plan to another G plan regardless of health. So it really makes sense to double check your numbers after that discount wears off. And no one tells you about this. The carriers obviously aren't going to. They want you to stay placed. Your brokers probably won't either. They don't want to deal with the extra work. We really want to double check those numbers, and we're happy to help you with that. Finally, let's talk about quoting and switching and how to go about doing that well. Finally, we have the G versus N versus F, all this information. What do we do with it? Run the numbers. We do this all day long. All we need is a zip code and date of birth, and we can run the quotes for you across all the major carriers for the N, the G, and even compare it with the F plan if that's what you're still on, or the old H, I, and J. Either way, with that zip code and date of birth, you can either run a quote directly on your own. We make this free and instantly available to you below, or we can do that for you. Just email us the information, let us know what you have, and if you're on the best price plan, we'll let you know. If not, then we can make switches anytime during the year. There is no open enrollment for Medicare supplements. You can do that anytime. It's not like Advantage or Part D. It's subject to medical underwriting. However, like we mentioned, around your birthday, we can make that change from a G to a G, an F to a G, or a G to an N, the same level or a downgrade, regardless of health, guaranteed issue, again, around your birthday. It's called the birthday rule. And in California, it's fantastic. It is our weapon here to kind of keep the carriers legit and make sure they're not overcharging, because once you're on a Medicare supplement, it used to be you kind of had to stay there if your health changed. No longer. You can change every year depending on what is the best value for you. Keep in mind, networks are identical. The benefits are standardized. So a G plan is a G plan, regardless of the carrier. We want a solid carrier. We quote all of them. We'll provide that to you. Let us see what your situation is. We don't push, we don't sell, but we'll run the numbers, send it out to you, and then let us know if any questions come up from there.